Welcome fellow action figure collectors to another episode of Beyond the Card Back. I'm Trooper TK314 and today we're taking a look at the Marvel Legends you can use to build an animated series Incredible Hulk display. That's right guys, today we're taking a look at the Marvel Legends you can use to make your own Incredible Hulk animated series display shelf. And first up, I'm going to show you my version of Bruce Banner, which is from the newest Villains Wave, I think it is. Yeah, the Villains Wave. This is the Hood action figure, and I actually repurposed him as my Bruce Banner because I think his face just suits Bruce Banner. I mean, he's screaming, ah! I mean, it's just Bruce Banner about to change, and I've got him down on his knees. I mean, he just looks great for the display. I mean, he's like at his mercy, he's about to change. And the next thing you can use is the 80th anniversary Hulk. This is a staple for anyone who has a Marvel Legends. The 80th anniversary 2-pack with Wolverine, fantastic figure, great articulation, wonderful paint. This looks just like the one from the animated series as well. The hair's a little off, but looks really good. Huge piece of clunky plastic, love it. So there they are together. We've got our Bruce Banner, we've got our Incredible Hulk. But with the first episode, which was called The Return of the Beast, we don't have a General Ross, and I was thinking about using J. Jonah Jameson head on a military body, but I didn't have a military body. But I did kit bash this one, and it is Betty Ross. And I kit bashed her. This is the Moira McTaggart body from the House of X-Wave. I've got the tablet from the AIM Scientist Supreme, and the head sculpt is from Sharon Carter, and I think it was the I forgot which series this came from, but it looks pretty good. I like it. Betty had a ponytail, so I thought that looked pretty good for a Betty Ross. We got Betty, Bruce, the Hulk. Another kit bash is S.H.I.E.L.D. comes in, but it's not Nick Fury, it's Agent Gabriel. And so to kit bash this one, I used the unmasked head of War Machine with the Nick Fury body. It is a little bit of a tight squeeze with this head, but once you get it on, it looks good, and Agent Gabriel right there. So I was really excited about that one. That's a pretty good, pretty cool kit bash. So now we've got some of our, protagonists, antagonists. We've got S.H.I.E.L.D. going after the Hulk. We've got Betty. Y'all gonna get tired of me doing Betty. That's all the Hulk ever said in the Hulk cartoon. Betty. Hulk loves Betty. So in the first episode, we also got to meet one of the main antagonists for Hulk, and it was the Leader. And this is a great Leader figure. I love this figure, absolutely love it. It goes right in. The only difference is with the animated series, he had black. These were actually black, his boots and stuff. He was orange and black. But with this one, we've got a little bit of the yellow. But that, Hasbro nailed it with the Leader sculpt there, the big head. He got hit with the same gamma, not the gamma rays at the time, according to the cartoon. He fell into like a gamma swamp, and it just got him, and he came out with that big head. So he didn't get muscles, but he got intelligence, and that is what he's always after with the Hulk. He's always wanting the Hulk's muscle and power, not just that. He wants the brain and the muscles. So we've got the Leader, and of course, in the first episode, Bruce Banner is trying to constantly separate himself from the Hulk. He wants to get away from the Hulk. The entire first season is him trying to do experiment after experiment after experiment, and it gets destroyed. Well, in the first episode, Leader sees that Bruce is trying to separate himself again. So who does Leader send in? He sends in Abomination. And here is Abomination from the Gamerverse wave. He looks freaking cool. I know it's not the other Abomination with kind of like the fan out ears, like the comic book version. This is the Gamerverse one. This may also be the one that we're going to see in the new Shang-Chi movie. So it's really cool. This is a huge piece of plastic, and just get ready. Your display is going to have huge characters. It's like a huge Hulk, Has to have huge characters fighting. Really, really cool. I mean, they really nailed it with this one. The detail on the back looks fantastic. I mean, that is just so freaking cool. So we've got Abomination. He messes up the experiment. Of course, Hulk and Abomination are going at it. Shield shows up. They're doing stuff. And the cool thing is, General Ross has created his own Hulk Busters. That's what they're called, but it's instead of like one Hulk Buster like what we see Iron Man make. They do not look like this, but they are giant machines with military men in them going after the Hulk. The squad is named Hulk Busters, but this will look good on your display. Look at that. Now this is the movie version of the Hulk Buster from Iron Man, from the Avengers movie, but it's just too good to pass up. So I'm telling you, you're gonna have a lot of big characters on this display. So here is the Hulk Buster, looking fantastic, super, super heavy. And what's heavy is the limbs, because it was a Build-A-Figure. Once you take the limbs off, like the centerpiece, it's super light. That's just crazy, but it's super heavy. Beautiful figure. I love this. I'm so happy to have it in my collection. So we've got the Hulk Busters. So they show up, they're all fighting, whatever. The leader recalls Abomination back, Hulk takes off, and now begins season 1, the whole journey. So that leaves us with going to episode 3, and it was called Raw Power. And the Hulk actually makes this one guy late for work who works at a gamma factory or something. Bruce Banner's known there, but you know, he sees the Hulk, he's late for work, he shows up, he gets picked on, this, that, and the other. Well, he agrees to help the Hulk once he sees him on property, and he downsizes to Bruce Banner. He agrees to help Bruce Banner, and so they're setting up another experiment. That's the whole season. They're setting up another test run to try to separate Bruce from the Hulk. And of course, in the middle of it, here come the Hulk Busters, the military, Shield. They start blowing up stuff. Of course, everything blows all to pieces. The guy that's helping him gets hit with gamma radiation as well and has to constantly soak up energy. I don't have that figure, and I don't even know what that figure's name is, but I decided to use for that Living Laser, and he's really freaking cool. I like the translucent plastic. I mean, this is a sleeper figure. This is a good figure to have. I know that the actual Living Laser, I think, is an enemy of like the Avengers and stuff. But here we go with episode 3. We have the Raw Power, and I'm using a Living Laser. Fantastic, because the guy was made completely out of energy and was sucking it up until finally he couldn't suck any more energy and he went back to being his normal self. So with that being said, that experiment failed, so Bruce had to go to someone else. And who did he go to? But to Stark Industries in California. And here we are with the brand new Iron Man from the newest Iron Man wave from the 90s cartoons. And this is fan-freaking-tastic. The articulation is absolutely beautiful. So he shows up, his buddy shows up, Rick Jones. Yes, Rick Jones shows up and is trying to talk. He first encounters, Rick Jones first encounters War Machine, Brody. And this is from the deluxe War Machine, a fantastic figure, just absolutely beautiful. Tons of accessories, tons of action effects for the guns, the missiles. So Rick Jones shows up, he encounters Brody. Let's switch some things up here. I think I want to put him over here. There we go. All right, so he encounters War Machine and Iron Man, but not Iron Man yet. So Bruce calls Tony Stark, says, hey, I need some help, da-da-da-da-da. Shows up at Tony's place. General Ross actually sees Rick Jones in a communication when Shield was trying to talk to War Machine or Brody. And what's happening is Iron Man is a weapons contractor for the US government, so they kind of suspect that maybe he might be helping or something. So with that being said, S.H.I.E.L.D. shows up, the military shows up, Bruce is there, once again, another experiment he's trying to do. He's all strapped into the chair, they're getting ready to do stuff. Military shows up, says, hey, we want Bruce, give him to us. Tony Stark's like, no, I'm a private citizen, I don't have to comply, da da da. War Machine is sent out to deal with the Hulkbusters, and they're duking it out. Tony's trying to do something with Bruce to get him, fix him and help him. All of a sudden the power goes out, War Machine blows up something on accident, the military, it all goes to hell like usual. The experiment fails, and guess who shows up? Bruce gets mad. Smash! Bruce! That's all the Hulk does. Just shows up, beats everything to hell. So what happened is Iron Man and the Hulk start fighting each other because the Hulk looks and goes, Tin Man bad! And starts going crazy. Actually, Iron Man hits the Hulk so hard he crashes into like a bridge, rocks fall on him, and he transforms back into Bruce. Well, the bridge is about to completely fall on Bruce, and his buddy Rick Jones pretends to be in need of help, where Bruce mutates back into the Hulk, breaks out of the rocks, saves his buddy Rick Jones, realizes Iron Man is his friend? Iron Man's friend? Yeah. I know that's an awful imitation. So they realize, the experiments failed, they can't do anything. The cool thing, or the funny thing about the end of the episode is War Machine and Iron Man both show up and talk to Agent Gabriel and General Ross and go, so who's gonna pay for my entire factory being destroyed? So it was kind of cool. So we follow Rick Jones to another city. He's following the Hulk, and the Hulk is now back to being Bruce, and he is at a church, kind of like having a bowl of soup, some coffee, something. The nun is talking to him. Stay as long as you want, darling, you're fine. Well, we get our first glimpse at Ghost Rider. And this figure, oh my goodness, this is one of the best deluxe Rider figures they ever made. And I've got the light shining through the flames, and it looks even better than what you guys are probably seeing. So Rick Jones sees this guy on fire flying up behind him, and he's like, oh my God, that guy's on fire. It's Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider feels that the Hulk is an evil entity that needs penance. Like, awful. He doesn't realize that Bruce Banner is inside of the Hulk and that it's, an accident. Ghost Rider shows up at that church in that general vicinity. Well, of course, something happens to the nun. I think the kitchen blows up or something catches on fire. She screams. He turns into the Hulk. Hulk's out because he's going to save the nun. Ghost Rider shows up, sees the Hulk, and thinks that the Hulk has caused all this big drama and destroying stuff like he always does. So he goes in to get the Hulk. Well, he realizes the nun's there. He carries the nun out, does his thing of, yeah, we're going to get penance, da-da-da-da-da. So, long story short, like it ain't been long enough, but Rick Jones actually talks to Ghost Rider and tells him, hey, he can't help it, man. He just turns into the Hulk. His name's Bruce Banner. He's not bad by no means, this, that, and the other. And so what happens is Rick Jones touches Ghost Rider's handlebars. Well, it's all on fire, and it's not burning Rick Jones. And that signals to Ghost Rider that, hey, Rick Jones is telling the truth here. The Hulk is innocent. Well, then the military shows up. There's another guy called Major something. He likes Betty. Turns out Ghost Rider puts his hands on him and realizes that the Major is trying to kill Hulk and Bruce so that he can get to Betty. He does the penance stare. The Major then realizes, his sins. That gives him time for Bruce to jump and go wherever he needs to. So he goes to Canada because he's now looking for Dr. Walter Lankowski, which may sound familiar because that is Sasquatch right here from the Sasquatch Build-A-Figure wave. Another big chunky piece of plastic, absolutely beautiful. Of course, if you have the Alpha Flight box set from Amazon, you had to have him. Absolute beautiful figure. So we've ended up in Canada. What's happened is Hulk has befriended this little boy named Taylor, and it's a village or something. The village people come out and think that the Hulk is the Sasquatch, which the whole episode they've been looking for the Sasquatch. Apparently he's been terrorizing the village. So Taylor has befriended the Hulk. Village people come out. They're all like, oh, Hulk's bad, da-da-da, kill him, da-da-da. You know, pitchforks, everything, Frankenstein. Well, he finally finds Dr. Lankowski. Sorry, I'll get these names right in a minute. Woo! Dr. Lankowski, and Bruce does, and he realizes that Dr. Lankowski is working on a experiment to separate himself from the Sasquatch, because he also has some kind of mutation going on where he turns into that. Bruce doesn't know this yet. Well, in the midst of it, they're setting up another experiment. Here we go, to separate Bruce from the Hulk, Lankowski from Sasquatch. Well, while they're setting it all up, Taylor somehow or another gets involved. I think something was about to blow up, or the machines blow up. You know, the experiments always go wrong. So the machines blow up and it's gonna hurt Taylor, and the Hulk Bruce sees that and goes, oh no, Taylor, my friend, and like hulks out and goes after him. Well, Lankowski gets pissed and he's like, you're gonna mess up the experiment. He goes, and he turns into the Sasquatch. Well, at this point, we've got the villagers showing up, and they're like, kill them both, blah, blah, blah. Well, Taylor's like, no, Dad, doo-doo-doo. We have the Hulk then is fighting Sasquatch, and they're just going at it. Finally, Sasquatch realizes he could have actually hurt people. He has like a change of heart, and he was like, no, leave me alone. And he gets on an iceberg and floats off somewhere into Canada. Well, eventually he becomes part of Alpha Flight. So he floats somewhere where the Canadian government gets a hold of him. Well, that gives the Hulk time to once again go on the run. And he goes to Washington, D.C. And he's going there because he wants to meet up with his cousin, Jennifer Walters. And we have Jennifer Walters here in her green Hulk, She-Hulk form. This figure is a sleeper figure and a must-have 2020 top figure, I think, this year. 2021 top figure. They're all starting to run together. This figure is fan-freaking-tastic. I love it. The detail is great. She came with two alternate heads, one grimacing, the other one more relaxed, like Jessica Walters. But really, really good figure. And I'm going to put her right here. There we go. So someone, unbeknownst to us, is watching Bruce in Washington, D.C. with these like robots and what have you. Well, when he gets to his cousin's house, these robots attack. We find out they're Doom bots. Dr. Doom is having some kind of confrontation with the American government. Imagine that. And here we find out Dr. Doom is wanting to use the Hulk as a weapon for Latveria. Dr. Doom figure from that Fantastic Four wave. Absolutely beautiful. And I did choose to go with the not so modern head. It came with two heads. This one's the more comic booky, cartoonish look. I added the green things from a Doctor Strange figure. Absolutely beautiful figure. Absolutely beautiful. So what happens is he captures Bruce and he's wanting to harness the anger of the Hulk for his own personal army. Basically, the Hulk could just go through anybody. Well, when he does, Jennifer Walters ends up getting hurt. She's almost about to bleed out. Bruce comes in as Bruce and does a blood transfusion to save her life. Well, that's how she turns into the She-Hulk. And Dr. Doom finally mind controls the Hulk, and then She-Hulk and the Hulk go at it, and then she's able to break the mind control that Dr. Doom has, brings the Hulk back. Hulk's cousin? Hulk love cousin? So we have all of that. Dr. Doom ends up getting defeated. Of course, he runs away. He doesn't get captured. He just gets defeated. And now we have She-Hulk and Bruce are together now. They go up to New York because Bruce is wanting to meet with Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four, who has been working on some Gamma projects. And here's Reed from the Walgreens exclusive Fantastic Four And we now have the new Fantastic Four, which was the uniform, the one that's coming out in February, the new ones, is the actual uniform that was in the cartoon, not this kind of turquoise with the darker colors. But he goes to see Reed Richards. So you've got your Fantastic Four right here. Invisible Woman. Of course, you got to have, I think Living Laser is going to have to move out of the way. You've got Johnny Storm right here. We'll move Doctor Doom back just a little bit. I'm running out of room. So we got Johnny Storm, Living Laser, can go right here. And then of course we've got the Thing. And this is the one the whole episode mainly focuses on because Johnny, Sue, and Reed have gone on vacation. So the only one left is the Thing. And he actually sees Rick Jones is looking for him, which is Bruce Banner's friend, because he's looking for Reed as well. Anyways, he says that Bruce is in town. Of course, now Bruce has turned into the Hulk. He's kind of going through New York a little bit crazy. She-Hulk's with him, trying to calm him down. These two kind of flirt with each other just a little bit. She-Hulk, for a 90s cartoon, they kind of made her a little a little flirty. She's all boom, ba ba boom. I like the legs. I like my hair. She talks about how she worked out and for years and couldn't do nothing. All of a sudden, she's lean, green, and mean or something. I don't know. She says something that's very, kind of provocative, but it's cool for a children's cartoon in '96. It was a little okay, but she's constantly flirting with the Thing. Rick Jones and them, they all go together. They end up at the New York Zoo or something. He gets made fun of, and Leader actually has sent in some more kind of abominations, not Abomination himself, but some more creatures that he made with gamma blood. And Hulk is fighting them, Thing is fighting, She-Hulk's fighting, they're all going at it. Finally it all stops. Rick Jones almost gets hurt. So Thing walks over to Rick Jones, and Hulk thinks that, he's going to do something. He punches the Thing right through a wall. So it's kind of cool. Thing just gets up and he's like, no, I'm his friend. I'm your friend. We're not going to fight. She makes a joke about, I'm always having to separate you guys. So it's a really good episode. At this point, he shrinks back down to Bruce Banner. He tells, yes. I need to quit talking with my hands. So, face that way, girl. There we go. Bruce tells his cousin, hey, you're in danger with me. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to go off on my own. So he does. The Hulk is in South Dakota, and he calls Betty. Well, the Hulk doesn't call. Bruce calls Betty. And he's like, hey, I'm in South Dakota, I'm on the run, this, that, and the other. Well, her father, General Ross, hears this, sends the Hulk busters to get him. They're having a big old confrontation. In the meantime, in Detroit, there is a gamma virus that's going crazy, just running rampant throughout the city. She gets told to go to Detroit, mandatory military orders to go help with the virus since she's a gamma expert. Well, she meets up with this guy called Dr. Donald Blake, and they're talking, and she says, if you can get Bruce Banner, then you got the gamma expert. And he goes, Bruce Banner, I thought he was dead. She goes, no. And if you find the Hulk, Bruce won't be far behind. And he goes, the Hulk? Whoa. He's just, what about the Hulk? Well, turns out that Dr. Donald Blake is in fact the God of Thunder, Thor. So he's carrying a stick, he bangs the stick down, boom, changes, and he is Thor. And he says all kinds of stuff, son of Odin, create a portal, and he goes off to South Dakota, goes there. They actually capture the Hulk, and they say some kind of comical line like, only the gods themselves could get him out. Well, the gods themselves show up and get him out, bring him back to Detroit. Hulk and Thor duking it out. I mean, going at it hardcore. Finally, Hulk ties him up in some cable, brings him, says, I need your help to do this. He breaks out, they keep hitting each other. Finally, he shrinks down to Bruce, and he sees Betty, and he's like, oh, Betty, and they have a magical moment. Well, Bruce actually was helping a homeless guy who had this gamma virus, brought him to the hospital. The guy had like a hallucination and ripped Betty's suit, and she got infected with some of the gamma virus. So at this point, it's a big old thing. The virus actually started because of the leader's sidekick, Gargoyle, trying to make himself look normal, and he accidentally released the virus into the Detroit airway. So then you see Bruce Banner working with Gargoyle to try to get it under control. They finally do make a cure. They save Betty. Good to go. We move on. Thor says thank you for your help, and they move on. So then we move to episode 10, which is called The Wind Cries Wendigo, which I guess, who could that be? So we open up with a Native American talking to some kids at a campsite about ancient stuff, about how his ancestor took on the body of Wendigo. And here we are with our last feature, Wendigo from the Wendigo Build-A-Figure. A fantastic figure. As you know, an arch enemy of Alpha Flight. But the Wendigo is not just one person, it can be multiple people, such as this one, it was the ancestor of the Native American. While he's telling the horror story or the scary story, the Hulk like roars in the woods, and he thinks that that's his ancestor, so he goes to find him. Turns out that brings out Wendigo. Wendigo and the Hulk are going at it. The Native American talks to his ancestor, tells him to be at peace, and the Wendigo goes away, as mystical as he showed up, and turns into an eagle and flies away. And the moral of the story was to try to teach Bruce, deal with your inner demons and make peace and this, that, and the other. So then we end with the last episodes of season 1. It's called Darkness and Light. This one is Leader, and he wants the Hulk's strength. Betty has been working with Dr. Samson, who also has gamma radiation, which is another figure that we need. Really cool, green hair. He has like a lightning bolt on his chest, a red shirt. Really cool. So him and Betty have been working on the particle wash or gamma particle bath, whatever they call it, which would separate the Hulk from Bruce. It works. It separates them. So now we have the Hulk and we have Bruce. Well, the Leader attacks and uses DNA from the Hulk to turn into like Hulk Leader. And the Hulk is inside Leader. They're like two separate people in one, kind of like the Hulk. But it's Leader and the Hulk. Well, eventually the Hulk starts taking over the Leader, and he's like dying. So he has to separate himself from the Hulk, and then Bruce is dying because he doesn't have the Hulk. So unfortunately, Bruce has to go back to putting the Hulk back together, and the Leader goes back to being his normal self, and that's how season 1 ends. So I hope you guys enjoyed this big, long season 1 Marvel Legends How to Build an Animated Series Incredible Hulk display with the Marvel Legends that we have. Maybe a couple of kit bashes, maybe a couple of fillers until we get somebody. I would like to see a Dr. Samson with the green hair, green long hair, the red shirt. I think that would be great. Other than that, I think it's a pretty good display. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like, subscribe, and comment. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Beyond the Force. There's a link in the description below. As always, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. And remember, Betty